Let's look ahead to 2025, and there's only one place to start for that, and that is the breaking news today. New co-defensive coordinator Rob Smith, who will be joining Zach Sparber, formerly from Bergen Catholic, as the co-defensive coordinator. Now, Gabe, I got to turn this over to you. I have no idea who Rob Smith is. I don't know who he is, why he is. Is he good? Is he bad? Educate me.
So the answer to your question is he has both good and bad history with this program. He's been here 09 to 12. 2012, he was the defensive coordinator under Kyle Flood. Prior to that, he was just a not special teams coach, an assistant coach. My apologies. And so they saw enough to elevate him. And obviously, since 2012, he has stuck around that role. However, the past 2 years, he's been at Penn State, working as an analytics coordinator. So this is a promotion in terms of position, but program wise, not quite yet, just because Penn State was in the playoffs. And, they did have an amazing season despite how it ended. So he was also defensive coordinator under Schiano 2020 to 2021, and he's worked for Schiano 4 different times. He's got familiarity with the program and a lot of familiarity with Schiano. And bringing in Zach Sparber as co-defensive coordinator, linebackers coordinator as well. This is I think defensively going to elevate the program despite losing Harasimiak, in my opinion. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's very encouraging. And for Rob Smith and Zach Sparber, you got 2 people returning on defense. So you got your work cut out for you. But as we will talk about, Coach Schiano, with his recruiting class being ranked overall 34, composite ranked 31, transfer ranked 46, he has brought in some people, some transfers on that defensive line that's going to bring size, speed, and physicality. So I think you're right. The future on the defense looks bright. But that all sounds good until I look at the schedule for next year. And, of course, we start out with Ohio and Miami at home, then Norfolk State, which I didn't know they had a football program. But when I look at the 2025 schedule, here's what I see. I see that Rutgers has to go to Columbus, Ohio to face the defending national champions. They're going to have the Nittany Lions at home. And speaking of the Nittany Lions, Drew Aller, don't throw an interception with 30 seconds left. Oh, that's another show. They're going to be going at Illinois, home against the Ducks of Illinois, at Washington, at Minnesota, home against the Hawkeyes of Iowa. So they've got a tough schedule. So my question for you is this. Well, how are we going to navigate this schedule?
See, navigation, it's tough to know without our defense coming back. And the problem with that, by the way, before I dive into this topic, Rider University also does not have a football program. We have not had a football program for 70 years now because someone posed as an 18-year-old and they were 30. So I know a thing or two about not having a football program. But navigating through this schedule, it's going to be difficult without knowing what our defense is looking like. Thankfully, we do have at least 2 guys coming back and not 0. But the problem is they play so far apart on defense that you can't really call them a tandem. Jordan Thompson's on the defensive line and Kaj Sanders, free safety. They're pretty far apart, so they're not going to be a dynamic duo of any sort. It's going to be about the guys around them. Navigating through the schedule, starting off incredibly difficult. At least, it's at home, so it's going to be more of like a let's go and have fun, see what this team is made of sort of game. Keep it competitive, see what this program can do going forward, what works and what doesn't. And so you look down the line here, Norfolk State, hopefully a W. Again, it's tough without knowing what our roster looks like. But based on our coordinators, I'm going to say that is a W. Ultimately, we'll have to see if I'm proven right or wrong. Minnesota, going to be difficult. Washington, going to be difficult, but we beat them this year, so we'll have to see. There's not really a way to navigate this. It all just comes down to which guys for these schools are transferring out, which guys are they getting. And what's our roster going to look like? It's such a big unknown. Our offense, thankfully, is a little more well known because we have our starting 2 wide receivers for the next 2-3 years. We have a quarterback coming back next year that can elevate into potentially an NFL player for all we know. So it's just going to have to be kind of a guessing game with how we do. First week is just a let's see what works and what doesn't kind of week, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, but I think I have some good news to fill in some of those gaps on defense. Because we look at that recruiting class for 2025, current rank 34, composite rank 31. We've got 25 3-stars. We've got 2 4-stars. Now, we know Rutgers suffered a lot of injuries on defense, but they've got Daryl Jabome and Muhammad Toure coming back who are from an ACL injury. They're going to anchor that linebacking core. Now, of course, like you were stating, Aaron Lewis, Wesley Bailey, Keontae Hamilton, Troy Rainey, all gone. Okay, but Coach Schiano has made some incredible additions to that defensive line and the secondary. Bradley Weaver from Ohio University, 6'4", 262, 44 tackles, 15 for loss, and 8.5 sacks for Ohio. And against Syracuse, had 5 tackles and 1 sack. Eric O'Neill from James Madison, defensive end, 52 tackles, 18.5 for loss, 13 sacks, and an interception coming to the Scarlet Knights. And, of course, from the Thundering Herd of Marshall, Jacoby Henderson, 5'11", 191, 2 years of eligibility remaining. He's going to be at the cornerback position. And we've got Jet Elad from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Las Vegas, one of my favorite towns. Love those slots. 6'1". Oh, you should go. It's wonderful until you lose all your money. Jet Elad from UNLV going to occupy the safety position. 84 tackles, 5 for loss, 1 sack, 1 interception. And
they're music to my ears.
Yeah, I mean, this is great stuff. And then we've got Daryl Dengoa from James Madison, 6'2", 290 at defensive tackle, 28 tackles, 6 for loss last year. And from South Florida, a team that challenged the Crimson Tide earlier in the season, Doug Blue Eli, 6'2", 315, 37 tackles the last 2 seasons, 5 for loss. And the last person from the Nittany Lions of Penn State. And once again, Drew Aller. What are you doing? Throwing that interception.
Is that synonymous now? Drew Aller to Penn State losing?
Yeah, Drew. What are you doing? Take the game to overtime. I mean, geez, I'm rooting for you, and then you disappoint me like this. Cam Miller from Penn State, 6', 183, 4 starts for Penn State, 27 tackles, 5 pass breakups in 16 games. So we're going to see a new defense, but that defense is going to have physicality, speed, and experience. So to your point, it's going to depend on, the players and who we get on defense. I think we're looking good.
And I think for the most part, with all these transfers and new players, it's going to be, can you buy into this system, this new system under Rob Smith and, of course, Schiano with the final say? It's going to be, can you buy into this completely new system from where you've came from? And if the answer is yes, which I think it will be, at least to start off, and you got to look at it optimistically against Ohio, against Washington, etc. I think that they can elevate this program, and they got to believe in themselves. They've made it so far through their college career and high school careers, believing in yourselves and having a belief system. And I think that really matters, especially with a completely new defense. So the chemistry is going to come naturally. It's just a matter of believing in the guys that are telling you what to do out there.
Yeah, you make a great point. This Rutgers team, one of the things that I think I would say to recruits and to our current players is that we're building something special here. And you could be part of the first team in Rutgers history that goes to the college football playoff and amazingly could win a national championship. And if you build a foundation where the players are resilient, they believe in themselves, and they have that drive, anything is possible. I will say this, though, for next year, I'm not so focused on the record, because what I think, and which we'll talk about in our next segment, is that this 2025 season is a bridge to 2026, which is going to be the year where I think they can make the playoff and be competitive on a national level. But before we get to that segment,
I was going to ask what makes you think that, and I would chime in myself, but let's hear it.
I am going to talk about that in just 1 second when I get to the 5 commits that Rutgers has for 2026, including 3 4-star recruits.
Sexy.
One of whom Bill Belichick is trying to steal. But Bill, stay in North Carolina. Go away. And as far as next year goes, I will say this. I know what the game plan is to beat the Nittany Lions. Rutgers players, if you're watching, in the secondary, just stand there. Drew Aller will throw it to you at some point. Trust me. Just catch it. You'll win the game.
It might take 3.5 quarters, but it'll happen eventually.
Hey, patience is a virtue.
I mean, I honestly think he should have declared this year, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I
know
feel like he should have too.
Terrible way to end the season, and he would never get that taste out of his mouth. But I think this is the stock that is highest in this present moment. It's now.
Yeah, and it's a weak quarterback class too. I keep hearing Jalen Milroe is going to go in the first round. Get lost.
I think the only solidified quarterback from this class is Cam Ward. I would love to buy into Shedeur because of his father and because of the system in Colorado improving. But to me, it's just Cam Ward has the fundamentals. Shedeur has them at a college level, but I don't know if it translates.
I agree with you. And, Cam Ward, he is a legit quarterback, and I think could be a solid starter in the NFL. Cam Ward should be disappointed, though, with his Miami team. They decided not to play defense this year. They just decided they weren't going to play. And that 41-38 loss to Syracuse, it was rough. But it was certainly a college football season to remember. And one, like you said, when you look back at Rutgers, there is a lot to be positive about. It's wonderful to have Coach Schiano as coach. And like we were just talking with those recruits that are coming in from the portal on that defensive line, that secondary, the future still looks bright. And if recruits want to be part of a special football program that can do something for the first time in Rutgers history, make the playoff, even make a national championship, it'll be something special.
And that's the selling point, is we have the crew. Yeah. Now, we can make history. You couldn't always say that. We can make history. Do you want to be a part of it? That's the selling point.
Yes. I mean, I want to be a part of history too. The problem is I'm almost 50 years old, so history has passed me by. But for these players, they're young. They can do something special. Like I tell my students on my mock trial team, you have the opportunity to do something real special, something you'll remember for the rest of your lives. And I hope that the trajectory continues to go upward. I think it will.